Yeah, you know what they say. Keep it naughty. Hello, wonderful people. Connor Whitmore here again with another video for you on the Nawtystep channel. And it's time for another Extra Nawties monthly roundup. Time for a load of quick EP, album, compilation reviews covering the very end of October and up to and including the 27th of November. You know how we do by now. Covering them all in alphabetical order by way of artist or record label name. And they're all linked below. Special mentions at the end. Yeah, let's go. And kicking off this installment, we have the new EP from Badklaat, Blunt Force. I think considering how little I enjoyed his singles leading up to this EP, I was pleasantly surprised. I'm not gonna lie, you know. It definitely has its fair share of very straightforward material as well, but also some good branching out from him. You know, I love the flow and genre experimentation of Automatic, and also the stuttered approach of MK5 Missile, an approach that quite a few have done by this point, but it was good to hear from him, and I think he does it well. Bruise also has got a good dynamic to it, and the production overall is just way better from him, so yeah, pretty good. Next up, more epic, wide-reaching dystopian D&B music from Billain, which is what I, and I imagine many others, have kind of come to expect with him. Sonically, I think the way that each cut here is put together, very engaging and keeps your attention really well. I wouldn't say there are particular ideas here that I'm excited to go back to again and again, but for the construction alone, it's just an incredible listen, and the dark atmosphere running throughout, I think, really embellishes that. 3 tunes here, almost 20 minutes long, which I think just, you know, tells you all you need to know about the scope of it, and if you like the sound of that, then check it out. New EP from Boon, Shin, which I must admit, I did expect a little more invention and flair from on the ideas front. You know, whilst I can appreciate the design, the production, the general makeup of the music, there's just not a lot about the concepts here that really gets me going. I think it's track 2 here, Abrasion, is pretty sweet and soothing, a great vocal sample in there, and a couple other moments here and there, but beyond that, just not a lot exciting me. It feels a bit simple and one-dimensional. After that, new EP from Caster, which is a decent little mix of dark classical and dubstep. You know, not particularly gripping ideas, and I wouldn't say the production is amazing either across the whole thing. It's just a nice little mix of concepts and influences, and there's a welcomed randomness to it as well in terms of the formulation of the ideas we do get here. Also quite haunting in feel throughout, which I always, you know, I always appreciate in my dark electronic music, and it's just nice to see an overtly dark project on Ophelia. I think, for me, one of the best EPs I've heard on the label. Then, new EP from Chassis, or Chassis, I'm not entirely sure, but an unusual rhythm-leaning EP here, in that there are a wealth of very electrifying moments on show, and the bulk of it, you know, is still quite formulaic, but as a whole thing, it's quite unpredictable because of those electrifying moments, and those bits of surprise are what bring the EP and his style to life, in my opinion. You know, they're harder to make in terms of coming up with them, they're more ambitious ideas in comparison to the boom tum pa and what comes with that, but if that becomes the driving force of his music, the more electrifying stuff like we get on track 4 here, Exterminate, then he really could be onto something special. Following on from there, new EP from Cherny, which I had my doubts about going into it, I can't lie, but for me, anyway, easily the best project we've heard from him yet. You know, I'm not sitting here saying that it's incredible, but definitely the cleanest that his sound has been, and the ideas have way more flavour and spice to them than usual from him, and you know, on the back of it, on the back of this EP, Propaganda and Corruption have become my favourites of his. You know, everything in those tunes just works together so well, production and idea. You know, there is music here that I won't go back to again, but I'm excited as to where he'll go from here, which I just wasn't saying before. New compilation from Crowsnest Audio. As with most compilations, I think, a bit of a mixed bag, which isn't a bad thing, you know, that's just what you usually get. Some you like, some you don't like. There is some stuff here that, for me, just doesn't work at all, and a fair few where the ideas are good, but the production doesn't quite back it up, like the Code Pandorum and Axon, the Auto Drive, Brain Palace, Sadu, Super Wet, a couple more here and there, But a great variety to it overall, I would say. A good range of styles, keeping it interesting and engaging throughout. It just has that crow's nest essence running through it, which, yeah, I just really appreciate. But in terms of my favourites here, for the record, it would have to be the Face Split and Tremor. Another new compilation, this time from the Bygore sister label, Fresh Blood. And I did just say that most compilations are a mixed bag, but I wouldn't say that here, and not in the best way, you know. A couple of fresh tracks here and there in terms of design, but not a lot in the way of flavour, excitement and colour when it comes to the ideas, you know, very straightforward. A lot of music here relying on the heaviness. I just don't really know what it's adding, if I'm being honest. And the compilation overall is so long, and a lot of the production is quite rough. So, a bit of a slog, but for what it's worth, my favourites come from Demonize and Barely and Stallion at the end. New EP from G-Rex, which showcases the good and not so good of his style in pretty much equal measure, in my opinion. A couple of tunes in the middle of the four where the elements work together really well, the ideas are engaging, there's a nice vibe going on. But those starting and ending the EP, the production just doesn't work anywhere near as well, I would have to say, just my observation. Meaning that the ideas can't be fully realised. So, some decent stuff, but again, nothing really remarkable. Third, Never Say Die EP of 2020 here for UK. None of these tunes for me are up there with his best of the year, in my opinion. You know, maybe Sad Socks, which is pretty good. Not quite up there with his tops of the year. But anyway, you know, regardless of that, you do, I think, just have to marvel at the articulation of the production here. Again, the cheekiness of his style overall. And he remains, for me, one of only a few who are able to make the simple aspects of rhythm really interesting and ear-catching, you know. All the little sounds and moments dropped in. These EPs are good, I'm just waiting for the day that he may expand into an album. Debut EP, I think, from John, though, and basically, if you like your Imanu, your Missing, your Synergy, all that feathery, bright, electrifying D&B music, then you just have to check out this EP. Simple as, you know, production and style are in place, and a couple of really good ideas on show here. If you're into D&B at all, at least give him a follow. This guy will be one for the future, mark my words. EP from Cage, which isn't bad, you know, classic Cage for the most part. Bouncy house music, a bit of a menacing feel to it. Some pretty catchy tunes here as well, I would say, like Trust and Raid and Sanpaku. Ones that, you know, definitely get the shoulders going, a bit of a bop. Only really the opener that I can't get on board with, you know, doesn't set the tone all that well. But mostly just a solid EP, nothing exceptional, but yeah, just quite solid for a house EP. And if you're looking to explore house music a bit more, especially if it's got a bit of a dark groove to it, then yeah, get on it. Another neat little remix EP here from Knock 2, and some big originals on show here being given the remix treatment by him, like Sugar by Brockhampton, Ego Death, Power by Kanye West. None of them are up there with his best remixes of the year, in my opinion. He's put out a fair few, one of which I think will be on my remixes of the year video, watch out for that. But yeah, that would be a reflection more so on the mad standard that he set. You know, this EP, it's still pretty good, a lot of fun, I would say. The first half in particular. My favourite would have to be the opener, his take on Sugar. Next up, Camarian remixes, which aren't bad. The highlights for me coming from Gyrofield and City Walker. The former, a very high-octane, mishmash kind of tune, you know. It's not really a particular genre, but a very good listen, recommend that. And the latter from City Walker, another good bit of house fun, I would say. But I must admit, I did expect a bit more from the others here. A tad simple with the invention. Yeah, I mean, some great underground talent involved here, just not really coming through with the good stuff, for me anyway. But yeah, a lot of very good production here and a good range of styles, but not that much exciting me on the ideas front, I have to say. New EP from Missing, which is similar to the Boon Shin, another D&B EP here where I can appreciate the production, the general makeup of the music, how it's designed and put together, but just not getting that much from the ideas. I think the feel is there, there's an underlying kind of starkness to it and a quite uncomfortable feel that is weirdly quite nice. I quite like it, but the drops just play it so safe for the most part. I think Strain, track 2 here maybe, is quite sweet, but the rest don't venture far at all outside the comfort zone. And safe to say I expected a bit more ambition here. Yeah. New EP from Nazar, which is the kind of dubstep that doesn't do much for me, to be honest. You know, overly loud, bridimy, not a lot of invention in the drops, and seemingly prizing heaviness and force over all. The introductions, I think, have a certain allure to them, which is good. My favourite aspect of it, of the EP, bringing the listener in well on each one, but the heaviness just does nothing for me, I have to say. Nothing really memorable about it. As per, Nightbase have released a selection of fantastic singles this year, once again, but I think it's fair to say that, in my opinion, none of them will be coming from their latest compilation. A couple of nice vibes and grooves in here, but nothing more, you know, very, very simple ideas. Again, that thing of playing it safe, nothing that catchy here or making me want to go back to it again and again. Just very standard, really. Decent compilation here from Night Mode, and if you're into your futuristic forms of electronic music, then I think you'll love it. You know, we get some D&B, some techno, some synthwave, a bit of mid-tempo leaning stuff, a bit of speed house, a lot of wave as well. So yeah, if that interests you, then check it out. The production isn't amazing across the board, but some good ideas, and I think the futuristic design of it is very on point. And again, with a compilation for what it's worth, my favourites come from Lectric, New Nosiem, Kill Script, so yeah, better in the second half for sure. New album, EP from Omnipony, which in many ways is what we've come to expect from Omnipony, a range of styles and influences kind of mixed and meshed together into a massive, glitchy smorgasbord of sound. It's pretty wild, and I'm not going to sit here and say, you know, I love any of it outright in terms of the ideas. Maybe the first half of Invert 182, but it is just great hearing people make music with no rules, no boundaries, or things just holding the creation back. Do you know what I mean? And I can imagine that it was a lot of fun to put together. And in a way, that is all that music should be. Then, new EP from Peppa Khan, a very pleasant EP, pleasant ideas, mostly pleasant sounding, you know, maybe Utopia aside, the drops in that tune, a bit muddy, I would have to say. But anyway, whilst I appreciate the approach he goes for here, and I think he does it very well for the most part, there is a part of me wanting for it to be a bit heavier, a bit gnarlier, because we all know that he has that in him, and, you know, there are points where you just want him to bring that element in. Well, for me anyway. For what it is, I think mostly very well done. The melodies, the sounds used, and the tunes are all very concise as well, I would say. But I am just sat there waiting for the meanness to come in, because he also does that very well. But, you know, I suppose it's just a matter of time before he puts out an EP, a heavy one on a Never Say Die or Disciple, Halcyon, whatever. It'll happen. New compilation from Rushdown is good, I think, considering how underground and lesser known these musicians are. Most of them just starting out, you know, and there's some pretty impressive ideas and production on show here. My favourite sounds here come on the Drones track, I would say, and particularly attention-grabbing moments we get in the Katori and Ipsium and Sixth Sense, but my favourite overall would have to be the Diatic. But generally, yeah, a very enjoyable listen, I would say. A lot of flavour, a lot of colour, a lot of life, and heaviness as well to boot. So if you haven't checked it out yet, what are you doing? Then we have one of, if not my favourite EP of the month, from Victor. And if you enjoy artists like Shades and Aleph, that grainy, dark electronic music approach, but with a bit more wub and menace beneath it, think of a chi or moody good kind of woven in, then you will love it. The production and design here are great, the range of sounds pretty incredible, and a couple of brilliant ideas just kind of dropped in as well. And it just does such a good job of immersing you and submersing you in its world for the 16-minute runtime. It's deep and detailed and heavy as fuck, and I am fucking with it a decent amount. And ultimately, new EP from VRG, and I'm gonna keep it short here. If you like your dub and trap crossovers and making it a hybrid, throwing in a load of gnarliness with the design, then this would be for you. I'm not mad on the drop ideas myself, but the way it's cut, the general sharpness of it, makes it for me a go-to. So if you haven't checked it, then check it. And finally, the new EP from Seven, which is similarly hybrid and well cut, more on the dubstep side of that kind of crossover than the VRG. And again, not remarkable ideas here, but the dynamic between sounds is good, and the energy is on point throughout. Production could do with a bit of cleaning up all round, but I think that'll come with time, if I'm being honest. And yeah, you know, stuff to improve here, but I come out of hearing it thinking more than anything that the potential is really there, and I'm excited as to where it goes going forward. But yeah, there we have it, the November 2020 edition of the monthly Extra Naughties Roundup. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Special mentions, again, a maddening amount here. Going to put them up on the screen here for you all to see. Pause if you want to note them down, take a screenshot, whatever. They are not in the description down below. But with regards to what I reviewed in this video, albums, compilations, EPs, whatever, which ones did you enjoy, which others not so much? Are there any that I missed out? Let me know in the comments down below. But beyond that, keep it naughty. If it's naughty, then you know, and I shall see all of you legends in the next one. Peace!